Elliot, not again. Elliot stood in the entrance hall as his mother scolded him for the second time that week. He glanced down at the rip in the knee of his left trouser leg, wondering how an accident could cause so much anger. His face and short blonde hair were also marked by the aftermath of a football match after school. Clearly, Mother wasn't happy. She marched him into the kitchen and ordered him to sit. "Clothes don't grow on trees, you know," she yelled at him. He sat there, trying to stay calm. It had been an accident, after all. What did other 14-year-old boys do when they played football with their friends? "Why can't you be more careful?" she asked, exasperated. "That's the second pair of trousers you've ruined this week. The fourth since you went back after the holidays." Elliot looked up at his mother and spoke up. "But Mom, football's a contact sport. Sometimes accidents happen." Before she could respond, the kitchen door swung open and in stepped his older sister, Chloe. She immediately noticed the hole in his trousers and smirked. "Looks like my little brother's done it again," she said, her tone as patronizing as ever. Mother nodded and added, "Yes, he has. Sometimes I wish you could be more like your sister, Chloe." Chloe sat down beside her brother, smiling, and then looked at their mother. "How could you compare an immature 13-year-old boy with a mature 16-year-old girl? Anyway, I bet he has terrible legs." Elliot glanced at his mother, silently agreeing with his sister for once. Mother stood over him, looking at Chloe. "You know what I mean. You don't go running around a football field all day or beating each other up just for fun." Chloe nodded and then took her little brother by the hand. "You need to learn a lesson, young man." Elliot shouted at her to be quiet, which only made his mother angrier and led to another reprimand. He argued that she had started it with her comments, but that only made things worse. Mother looked him in the eye. "She's right. You need to be taught a lesson. And you will apologize to your sister for how you spoke to her." Elliot stared straight ahead, saying nothing. He wasn't going to be humiliated like this. If only Dad were around, he wouldn't let his son be treated this way by two women. Chloe sat, waiting for an apology. But he remained silent. Mother had clearly had enough. She grabbed him by the arm and started marching him toward the stairs. Elliot had never seen her so angry, so he figured it was best to do nothing else that might make things worse. "Enough of your tantrums. Go to your room. I don't want to see you until tomorrow. And leave those trousers in the hall, they're fit for the trash." He went to his room and shut the door. He lay down on his bed and turned on the TV, thinking to himself that it wasn't such a big deal. The next morning, Elliot woke at the usual time and sat up. He hoped his mother had calmed down as he made his way to the bathroom. As he passed through the hall, he heard his mother and sister chatting in the kitchen, probably pleased with themselves. When he returned to his room, he opened his wardrobe to find his last pair of school trousers. After searching for a while, he couldn't find them and assumed they were in the laundry. With no other option, he put on his jeans and trainers, then his school shirt and tie, grabbed his school bag, and headed downstairs. Mother turned when she saw Elliot enter the kitchen. She had already set out his breakfast cereal and waited until he'd poured the milk over it before speaking. "And where do you think you're going dressed like that?" He put down his spoon, glanced at his sister, and replied, "To school, where else?" Mother shook her head. "Not like that, you're not. You know the rules, it's school uniform or nothing." Elliot smirked. "But my last pair of trousers aren't in the wardrobe, they must be in the laundry. So, you see, I've got nothing else to wear." Mother sat beside him, returning his sarcastic smile. "Yes, you do. Your uniform is on the chair, as usual. When you've finished breakfast, perhaps you could go change?" Chloe chimed in, her usual cheeky tone present. "I always wear my uniform to school, don't I, Mum?" Elliot hadn't noticed the uniform on the chair but decided it was best to do as his mother asked. However, what bothered him more was Chloe. Why was she trying so hard not to laugh? When he got to his room, he understood exactly why his sister had been struggling to keep a straight face. On the chair lay her school skirt, blouse, and tie. Beneath the chair, there were shoes, black loafers with a heel. Elliot recognized them as Chloe's because none of his shoes had heels. Also on the chair were a pair of Chloe's knickers and what looked like white socks. He picked up the skirt and stared at it in horror. It was incredibly short, barely 16 inches long, with pleats and a zipper at the back. This had to be a joke, right? Come on, Elliot, we don't have all day. His mother's voice broke his focus. He turned to see her standing in the doorway. Hurry up, she ordered, leaving him to get dressed. Resigned, Elliot struggled to get dressed. The buttons on the skirt wouldn't close, and the blouse was difficult because the buttons were on the wrong side. When he picked up the white socks, he realized they weren't socks at all, but knee-high stockings, the kind he'd seen in music videos and on older girls at school. He carefully put them on, trying not to snag them with his bitten nails. They ended just below his knees, and he felt completely ridiculous wearing them. The black loafers had a tiny heel, but even so, the sensation of wearing them filled him with dread. How was he going to manage walking in them all day? Downstairs, Mother looked at Chloe as they heard Elliot's footsteps on the stairs. Chloe grinned. Oh, Elliot, I never imagined you'd look so pretty as a girl. I told Katie last night that you'd be coming to school as my sister, and she said she couldn't wait to see how cute you'd look. Elliot stood there, humiliated. Clearly, his mother and sister had decided on this punishment the night before. It explained the skirt and everything else on the chair. He knew the worst was still to come when he got to school. Mother checked his uniform and was satisfied that he was at least presentable. But Chloe made a comment that sent a chill down his spine. Mom, something's not quite right. Can I take Elliot upstairs for a minute? Mother agreed but told them to hurry. Once upstairs, Chloe instructed him to go back to his room and take off the blouse and stockings. Could she be helping him out at this point? He doubted it. When she returned, she was holding a few things, including a large pink school bag with Disco Chick written in glitter. He noticed some graffiti on the back, Chloe loves Michael and Katie loves Steve, and a new one, Alice loves her new uniform. Chloe held up a white bra and told him to turn around. She fastened it to his chest and adjusted the straps. Then she told him to put the blouse back on and sit on the bed. He could feel the bra against his skin, and the sensation made him uncomfortable. She swapped the white stockings for a black pair, explaining that their mother didn't have the best fashion sense when it came to teenagers. She smoothed the stockings up his leg and snapped the top to ensure they wouldn't slip down during the day. Chloe then pulled out a shimmering pink lip gloss and quickly applied it to Elliot's lips, warning him, "Don't even think about wiping it off or licking it off. If you do, you'll just have to fix your makeup during school, and I'm sure you don't want to get caught doing that in the girls' bathroom." Elliot could taste the raspberry flavor of the lip gloss and felt the sticky sensation on his lips. Next, Chloe grabbed an eyeshadow stick and applied a blue-gray color to his eyelids, sweeping it toward the outer corners of his eyes. "Sit still," she told him as she carefully applied black mascara to his lashes. He didn't like the feeling of the liquid as it coated his lashes, but he knew better than to move. She then sprayed a body scent on him, saying he smelled just like his sister. She placed the lip gloss and body spray in the pink bag and handed it to him. "I've packed your school books in here too. We don't want you missing out on your education," she added. When they got downstairs, even Mother looked a little surprised at his appearance. Chloe insisted that Elliot needed to wear a bra to make the blouse fit properly. As for the lip gloss and makeup, she explained, all the girls wore it. Mother grabbed the car keys and headed for the door. Chloe motioned for her brother to go first, laughing as she said, "Come on, Alice. Don't keep the teacher waiting." Elliot walked as best he could in the shoes, wondering if he'd heard his sister right. Had she just called him Alice? One thing was certain, he wouldn't be playing much football for the foreseeable future. He stumbled down the garden path and into the car. Chloe reminded him to be careful sitting down while wearing a skirt. Mother sympathetically told Chloe not to be too harsh, after all, it was his first time wearing one. Elliot sat in the back of the car with growing dread as the school gates came into view. He saw Chloe's friend Katie waiting by the gates, surrounded by her friends, all eager to see the new girl. When his mother pulled up, Elliot shut his eyes as the fourth form girls began to giggle at his appearance. They crowded around the car, laughing when they saw he was wearing a skirt just like them. Mother told Chloe to go to class, but Elliot was to stay with her since she wanted to meet the headmaster and explain why one of her male students had shown up dressed as a girl. Elliot could see Chloe telling the girls about his transformation. All he wanted now was to go home and never come back. Mother marched into the reception and asked the secretary if she could see the headmaster. Elliot stood there, pink bag on his shoulder, pulling down the short skirt, which seemed to get shorter with every step. Two third-year girls passed by, wearing almost everything Elliot had on, giggling as they looked him over. One of them said, "That's a nice bag you've got, Alice." He ignored the comment, but it was clear Chloe had already spread the news of his new identity to the entire school. It wouldn't be long before his football friends saw him, and the teasing would continue. The secretary told his mother the headmaster was available and that she could go in. Elliot was led to the study and told to remain quiet while Mother explained everything. Mr. Jones, the headmaster, didn't seem amused when he recognized one of his third-year students dressed in the wrong uniform. Mother explained it was a punishment and that, aside from the makeup, there was nothing wrong with the uniform. She quoted the school rules: pupils will wear either black trousers and white shirts, or black skirts and white blouses. It doesn't specify gender. The headmaster made a mental note to revise the rules. He then asked, "How do you expect him to handle potential trouble from other boys?" Mother stood and replied, "That's your responsibility, isn't it?" He nodded resignedly. With a smile, she stood to leave. Elliot was given a quick kiss on the cheek, the first time that had ever happened, and told, "Go on to your class now, Alice. You might want to touch up your lip gloss. I'll be waiting for you after school. Are you planning to come straight home tonight?" Elliot left the study and headed to his first class. He stopped at the boys' bathroom and was about to enter when another teacher called out to him. "That's not your restroom, young lady." Elliot didn't turn around, not wanting to be recognized, but instead moved further down the corridor and into the girls' washroom. When he arrived at his class, he wasn't met with the loud laughter he expected. Instead, there was an eerie silence. Even the geography teacher, who had clearly heard about the new student, didn't comment when Elliot entered. "You're late, Alice." "Try not to be again," the teacher said with a smile. Crushed by the fact that everyone now knew him as Alice, he sat down in his usual front row seat, flanked by two girls, Cassandra Smith and Denise Hill, who had often been the target of his jokes. Now it was their turn for revenge. Cassandra leaned over and whispered, "I like your skirt, Alice. All the fourth formers wear them, but we don't normally get to in third year. You must be the luckiest girl in the class to wear such a short skirt. Does your mom know you like girly things?" He ignored her comment and took out his books from the pink bag. Cassandra then rested her polished fingernails on the edge of his desk. "Just don't try flirting with our boyfriends, okay?" Denise Hill bit the end of her pen, trying to suppress a laugh. She noticed the makeup and sweetly asked, "Where did you get that eyeshadow, Alice? Can I borrow it, please?" Even when Marie Wilkes jabbed him in the back with a ruler, he did his best to stay silent. It was going to be a long day. At break, Elliot was completely shunned by his former football friends. They made it clear they didn't want to associate with a sissy boy and suggested he spend his lunch with his new friends instead. Elliot stood alone at the corner of the school building, his left leg against the wall for support. He felt terrible and more than a little isolated. First-year girls stopped to stare at him with a mixture of curiosity and mockery. He wanted to walk up to one of them and give her a punch, but instead, he stood there, mortified. Suddenly, he felt a sharp slap across his left cheek, forcing him to step back. He turned around to find his sister Chloe standing there, her icy stare fixed on him. She was with her two best friends, Katie, the blonde bombshell, and Megan, with her elfin features. They didn't seem like they were here for a friendly visit, and Elliot was relieved when the younger students scattered at the sight of the fourth formers. Chloe spoke first. "Well, Alice, you know Katie and Megan, right?" He nodded, and Chloe turned to her friends. "Katie, Megan, meet my new little sister, Alice." "Nice to meet you, Alice," they said in unison. Chloe then asked where his bag was, and when he told her it was in his next class, she became angry. "You have a lot to learn, little sister. A girl never leaves her bag unattended. She may need to touch up her makeup at any time." Elliot stood with his head down, but Chloe lifted his chin, asking the other girls, "Do you think Alice needs to touch up her makeup, girls?" Katie said, "Definitely." Chloe then added, "But poor Alice doesn't have her makeup with her. What should we do, girls?" Katie rummaged through her bag, pulling out a tube of lipstick and a small compact mirror, which she handed to Elliot. "Here, you can try mine." Although Elliot took the mirror and lipstick, he had no idea how to use them. The girls grew impatient, and Megan said, "Come on, Alice. We don't have all day." Katie took the items back and showed him exactly how to apply the lipstick. She slowly drew it across her lips, pursed them together, then handed the lipstick and mirror back to him. "Your turn," she said. He did his best to copy her, but the lipstick felt uncomfortable and the mirror was too small. When he finished, he waited to see what the girls thought. Chloe took the items from him and handed them back to Katie. She then looked at Elliot and said, "Say, thank you, Katie, for letting me wear such grown-up lipstick." He repeated the words, but Chloe wanted more. "A little curtsy wouldn't hurt, Alice. Remember to grab the hem of your nice skirt as you bend." Humiliated, he did his best to curtsy and then repeated, "Thank you, Katie, for letting me wear such grown-up lipstick." Katie smiled and said, "You owe me a favor now, Alice. And I always call in favors, so be prepared." The girls walked off to class, laughing and joking about what had just happened. Elliot couldn't believe how cruel his sister was being. He sincerely hoped this would be his only day in a dress. Afternoon classes didn't get any better for Elliot. One teacher was so shocked by his appearance that he ordered him to stand outside the classroom for the entire lesson. This left him vulnerable to the passing students, who couldn't resist making comments. A fourth-form girl remembered him as the boy who had laughed when her friends hit her with a muddy football, ruining her new blouse. She stopped with two other girls and said, "Oh look, girls, seems like our little third-former's not into football anymore. Looks like he's discovered the wonderful world of makeup. I doubt he could even kick a ball in those heels," sneered another girl. The older girls laughed, and Elliot felt powerless when one of them snapped the left strap of his bra and mocked him. "He's even wearing a pretty white bra. How does it feel to be on the receiving end for a change? You little sissy?" The leader of the group nodded and said, "Chloe always said you were a little girl at heart. I bet you'd look great in a summer dress. Want to come shopping with us this weekend? I'm sure we could find something perfect for the school disco." The girls laughed again and only left when the teacher opened the classroom door and told them to move on. During the afternoon break, his so-called friends taunted him as well. Though they seemed a little uneasy about his current outfit, they couldn't resist asking if he wanted to go out with them on a date. Elliot, though completely humiliated, held back the tears. His mother arrived at the usual time to pick him and Chloe up from school. Once in the back seat, she asked, "And how did my two girls do today?" Elliot didn't find the remark funny and responded, "I'm not a girl. I'm your son." His mother glanced at him in the rearview mirror and replied, "Until you start behaving properly, you'll be my daughter, at least when you're at school." Elliot looked down at the hem of his short skirt, feeling utterly despondent. How long would he be expected to keep dressing like this? When they finally got home, Elliot was told to go upstairs, remove his makeup, and change into the clothes his mother had laid out for him on the bed. He went straight to the bathroom and scrubbed hard until the makeup was gone, the soap stinging his eyes as he wiped off the mascara and eyeshadow. Before he even made it to his room, the blouse he'd been forced to wear was already off. He caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror and felt uncomfortable wearing the bra. Then he saw his change of clothes, a cherry red t-shirt with the words "Good Girl" in pink glitter across the chest, a light blue denim miniskirt that he recognized as Chloe's, and a pair of white sandals that also belonged to his sister. Resigned to his punishment, he put on the clothes as best he could, though he struggled with the silver buckles on the sandals, unable to find the right hole to fasten them. When he went downstairs, he was greeted by his mother and sister. Chloe spoke first. "Don't you dare stain that skirt." "Mom, why does he have to wear my stuff? Can't we get him some of his own?" Mother shook her head and explained that she'd borrowed some of Chloe's old clothes from the spare wardrobe since there wasn't enough money for new ones. If Elliot hadn't ruined all his trousers, this wouldn't have been necessary. Chloe wasn't entirely satisfied with that explanation, especially since she liked the skirt so much. She suggested she look for some of her old clothes to gift to her little sister. Mother agreed, praising Chloe's generosity. "Don't you think that's a kind offer, Alice?" "My, if only I'd thought of that earlier. Just think of all the hand-me-downs you could have had if we hadn't done a clear-out last summer." Elliot was secretly relieved that Chloe had already gotten rid of a lot of her clothes before the situation arose. Chloe smiled at her brother and said, "Don't worry, sis. I've still got plenty of pretty clothes you can borrow. And I'm sure Katie and the other girls will help you out too." That was a thought Elliot wasn't ready to entertain. He turned to his mother and asked, "How long do you think you can keep me like this?" Mother smiled and seemed unaware of his discomfort. She answered curtly, "You'll stay as you are until I decide you've learned your lesson. Every time you ask me that question, another day gets added to your punishment, so I suggest you stop complaining." Elliot shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The breeze through the kitchen door didn't bother him before, but now, wearing a skirt, he could feel the cool air against his legs. Chloe watched him squirm, then turned to their mother. "Do you think Alice could come shopping with me and the girls this Saturday? I've saved up enough money to treat her to some of her own makeup." Mother thought for a moment before responding, saying she didn't think it was appropriate for teenage girls to wear a lot of makeup. Chloe shook her head. "It's no big deal, Mum. Just some lipstick, powder, and maybe a nice nail polish. Plus, it's not hygienic for her to use my things." Elliot wished they would stop referring to him as she or her. He had no intention of going shopping with girls and hoped his mother would put a stop to the idea. His heart sank again when he heard her reply, "Very well, but nothing too bright and definitely nothing too flashy. And Alice can pay for her own things with her pocket money." Chloe grinned in satisfaction as she took her brother's hand and said, "You look great with some glittery nail polish on those nails."